$50,000. I need a husband right now. The shout rang out across the rain-soaked plaza. Clara Moretti, evening gown drenched, mascara streaming, blue eyes blazing with desperation. The crowd stopped, stunned. A few mocking laughs rang out. Is she crazy? A crumpled check in her trembling hand held high. Lucas Kane, single dad, old coat soaked through, carrying a bag of bread in one hand, umbrella sheltering his small daughter in the other. He turned to look, his heart clenching at the sight. Money here, anyone agree? Clara repeated, voice breaking. Passers-by shook their heads and hurried on, dismissing her as someone who'd lost her mind. Lucas looked down at Sophie, shivering in the rain, then back at the desperate woman. No one knew that a nod in the rain would forever change the fate of three people. Lucas Kane, 35 years old, single dad, former shipyard worker, unemployed after corporate downsizing. His life revolved around odd jobs and repairs to support his daughter Sophie, 8 years old. Sophie was innocent and cheerful, always tucking notes into her father's pocket. Daddy, keep going. Clara Moretti, 28 years old, only daughter of Moretti Corporation's CEO, beautiful and famous in high society. But her life wasn't the dream it appeared. Her family wanted to force her into a political marriage to maintain power. Clara rebelled and was pushed to the wall by her family, her personal assets frozen. That rainy night, she fled an arranged engagement party with only her last check in hand. Desperate, she shouted in the plaza, $50,000, I need a husband right now. Lucas happened to witness this while taking Sophie to buy bread. The woman's rain-soaked, trembling appearance made him unable to turn away. Clara saw Lucas stop, her heart pounding. Sophie innocently asked, Daddy, does she need help? The scene was surreal. A woman in an expensive evening gown, clearly from wealth, standing in pouring rain offering money to strangers for marriage. Most people assumed she was drunk, high, or having a mental breakdown. Lucas had seen desperation before. He'd worn it on his own face when Sophie's mother left them, when he'd lost his job, when he'd counted pennies to afford his daughter's school supplies. He recognized real desperation when he saw it. Ma'am, he said, stepping closer with Sophie sheltered under his umbrella. Are you in danger? Clara looked at him. Really looked. Not at his worn coat or cheap umbrella or the obvious signs of financial struggle. She looked at his eyes and saw something she hadn't seen in years, genuine concern without ulterior motive. Yes, she whispered. I'm in danger of being married off like property, of losing myself completely, of becoming someone else's chess piece forever. That's not the kind of danger you call the police for, is it? No, it's the kind of danger money and power create, the kind no one can save you from. Sophie tugged on Lucas's sleeve. Daddy, she's really sad. Can we help? Lucas looked at his daughter, his beautiful, compassionate daughter who saw goodness in everyone. Then back at Clara. Are you serious about this? About paying someone to marry you? Completely serious. I need a legal husband to prevent a forced marriage contract. Once I'm married to someone else, the arrangement becomes void. I have $50,000. It's all I have access to right now. Lucas's mind raced. $50,000 would change everything. Pay off debt, secure Sophie's education, give them stability for the first time in years. But marriage? Even a fake one? Why me? You don't know anything about me. Because you stopped. Because you asked if I was in danger instead of assuming I was crazy. Because, Clara looked at Sophie, because you have someone who needs you to be good. People like that don't usually hurt others. The rain pounded down around them. Other pedestrians hurried past, eager to get out of the storm. But Lucas, Clara, and Sophie stood in a strange tableau, strangers connected by desperation and circumstance. If I said yes, Lucas began carefully, this would be temporary, right? Just legal paperwork? Yes. Once my trust fund activates on my 33rd birthday in 6 months, I can divorce you and you keep the money. We just need to appear married to my family until then. Sophie looked up at her father with wide eyes. Daddy? What's happening? Lucas knelt beside his daughter, rain soaking through his worn coat. Sweetheart, this lady needs help with a grown-up problem. Would you be okay if we helped her? Does helping mean she comes home with us? For a little while, Yes. Sophie looked at Clara seriously, then nodded. Okay, she looks like she needs a friend, a trace of authenticity. The note in Lucas's pocket got wet from the rain, words bleeding and smudging. Daddy, keep going. Clara quietly picked it up from where it fell, reading the love and support in those simple words, and felt something crack open in her carefully constructed walls. Lucas stood up, made his decision. Okay, we'll help you. But we do this properly, contract, terms, everything clear, and you tell me the truth about what you're running from. Clara nodded, tears mixing with rain. Thank you. You have no idea what you just saved me from. Maybe not. But I know what desperation looks like, and no one should have to face it alone. Lucas brought Clara and Sophie back to his small apartment, escaping the night rain. The room was simple. The roof leaked in a few places, but there was warm yellow light and children's laughter. Clara sat at the old wooden table, expensive shoes soaked through, heart heavy. Sophie made tea with a plastic kettle, chattering, "Drink this to warm up." Clara laughed, her first tea party simple but warm. Lucas shared his story. He lost his job, Sophie's mother left. Life was hard, but he wouldn't abandon his daughter. Clara choked up. She'd been used by her family like a chess piece. Nowhere left to go. In a moment of quiet, Lucas said, "You can stay here tonight." No money needed. Clara looked around the poor but love-filled room, her heart constricting. Sophie ran in, pressing a burned cookie into Clara's hand. "I baked this for Daddy, but you can try it." Clara bit into it, the burnt taste making her eyes water. The simple happiness she'd never known. Lucas smiled despite himself. "You're not alone anymore." Clara held the cookie in her hands, feeling rescued from darkness for the first time. The apartment was nothing like Clara's world. There was no marble, no designer furniture, no staff to attend to every need. Instead, there was Sophie's artwork taped to walls, a couch with visible patches, mismatched dishes, and a warmth Clara had never experienced in her family's mansion. "This is where you live?" Clara asked, not with judgment, but genuine curiosity. "It's not much, but it's ours," Lucas replied, finding dry towels for her. "You can change in the bedroom. I'll sleep on the couch tonight." "I can't take your bed." "You're soaked through and probably in shock. You're taking the bed, non-negotiable." While Clara changed into an oversized t-shirt and sweatpants Lucas provided, she heard Sophie's bright chatter from the other room, asking her father questions about their new friend. "Is she a princess, Daddy?" She was wearing a fancy dress. "Something like that, sweetheart." "Is she sad because someone was mean to her?" Lucas's voice grew softer. "Yes, very mean. So we're going to be extra kind, okay?" "Okay, I'll give her my best cookies." Clara smiled through tears she didn't understand. She'd been to countless parties, met celebrities and dignitaries, negotiated million-dollar deals. But she'd never encountered simple kindness without strings attached. When she emerged, Sophie presented her cookies with the ceremony of a royal banquet. "These are from yesterday. I made them myself. They're a little burned, but Daddy says that means they're made with love." Clara accepted the cookies like precious gifts. When she bit into one, hard, burnt, almost inedible, she found herself genuinely smiling. "They're perfect." Lucas made hot chocolate while Sophie peppered Clara with questions about her fancy life. Clara found herself describing her world through a child's eyes and realizing how hollow it all sounded. "You live in a big house, but you're sad," Sophie observed with a child's directness. "That doesn't make sense. Houses are supposed to make you happy." "It's not the house that makes you happy, sweetheart," Lucas interjected gently. "It's the people in it." Sophie nodded sagely. "That's why our small home is good. Because we have each other." Clara felt something break inside her, not painfully but like ice melting. "Can I tell you both the truth? About why I was in that plaza?" Lucas sat down across from her. "When you're ready." So Clara told them everything. About her father who died 6 months ago, leaving her as majority shareholder of Moretti Corporation. About her uncle Marco who wanted control and was forcing her into marriage with a business partner. About her mother who chose family loyalty over her daughter's freedom. About the trust fund that would give her true independence at 33, but only if she survived the next 6 months. "They were going to marry me off tonight," Clara whispered. I realized if I didn't run right then, I'd lose my last chance to choose my own life. So I grabbed the only check I could access and ran. Why marriage? Lucas asked. Why not just hide? Because the engagement contract includes a clause. If I marry someone else before the ceremony, it becomes void. It's an old-fashioned out, but it's the only legal way to break it. And you'd really pay someone $50,000 just for 6 months of paperwork? I'd pay everything I have for 6 months of freedom. Sophie had been listening quietly, processing in the way children do. So you need to pretend to be married to Daddy so the bad people can't make you marry someone else? That's exactly it, sweetheart. Okay. That's easy. Daddy's really good at pretending. He pretends he's not tired even when he is. And he pretends my cookies taste good even when they're burned. I'm not pretending, Lucas protested. Your cookies are good. Daddy, they're really not. But it's okay. I'm still learning. Clara laughed, really laughed. For the first time in months, this little girl and her father, living in poverty but rich in honesty and love, had given her more in one evening than her family had in years. Lucas, Clara said seriously, if we do this, I need you to know I'm not playing games. The danger is real. My family will fight this. They'll investigate you, probably threaten you. Are you sure you want to expose Sophie to that? Lucas looked at his daughter, then back at Clara. I've protected Sophie from a lot of things, poverty, her mother's abandonment, my own mistakes. I can protect her from your family too. The question is, are you ready to live our kind of life for 6 months? No luxury, no staff, just 3 people in a small apartment? Clara looked around the humble space at Sophie's innocent smile, at Lucas's steady presence. I think that's exactly what I need. A trace of authenticity, Sophie's burned cookie that she gave Clara, which Clara ate completely while praising the love in every bite. The first genuine gift Clara had received in years, made with a child's earnest effort and offered without expectation of anything in return. The Moretti family discovered Clara had fled the party, running away with some low-life man. Marco, Clara's cousin, declared, "If you don't return, you'll be stripped of everything." The press spread rumors that Clara had run off with a poor single dad. One evening, the family's security team burst into Lucas's apartment, forcing Clara to return. Clara was frightened, trembling under their pressure. Lucas stepped forward to block them, shouting, "Anyone who wants to take her has to get through me first." One guard growled, "Who do you think you are?" Lucas's voice was firm. "I'm someone who saw her pushed to the edge, and I won't let her be hurt again." A fight broke out. Lucas was injured but stood firm, protecting Clara. Clara broke down. "I don't want to go back to that golden prison anymore." She pulled out evidence, documents showing Marco had embezzled from the charity foundation her father had left. Clara decided to go public, streaming the incident live on social media. The entire city was shocked. Public opinion sided with Clara. Lucas held Clara's hand tightly, whispering, "You've already chosen." And that's the truth. The confrontation happened on day 3 of their arrangement. Lucas and Clara had just signed the marriage certificate at City Hall, a quick, efficient legal procedure with no ceremony, no celebration, just paperwork that would protect Clara for the next 6 months. They'd returned to the apartment to find it surrounded by black SUVs. Marco had brought an entire security team, along with the family lawyer and a doctor carrying sedatives, ready to declare Clara mentally unfit and drag her back by force if necessary. "This is absurd," Marco had sneered, looking around the shabby apartment. "You'd rather live in this hovel than accept your responsibilities." "I'd rather live in truth than luxury built on lies," Clara replied. "Touching. Now come with us. Your mother is worried sick." "My mother chose you over me. She doesn't get to be worried now." That's when the security team moved in, not gently. One grabbed Clara's arm hard enough to bruise, and before anyone could react, Lucas had dropped him with a single punch. The former shipyard worker might have been out of practice, but years of physical labor had left him strong, and more importantly, he was fighting for something that mattered. "She said no," Lucas stated flatly. "That's all the permission you need to leave." "You're nobody," Marco spat. "A deadbeat father playing hero. We'll crush you and take her anyway. Try it, Sophie had been at a neighbor's apartment, but hearing the commotion, she'd come running. What she saw terrified her. Men fighting, her father bleeding from his lip, Clara crying. "Daddy!" Sophie's scream cut through the chaos. Everything stopped. Lucas immediately moved to his daughter, checking that she was okay. The momentary distraction cost him. One of the guards tackled him from behind. Clara snapped. She'd been scared, defensive, ready to give in to avoid violence. But seeing Sophie's terrified face and Lucas being hurt for protecting her triggered something fierce. "Stop!" Her voice carried the authority of someone raised to command boardrooms. "Everyone stops right now, or I release everything." Marco laughed. "Everything? What do you have?" Clara pulled out her phone. 18 months of evidence. Every shady deal, every embezzled dollar, every illegal move you made to take control after my father died. I've been documenting it all, uploading it to secure servers. One word from me, and it goes to the SEC, the IRS, and every major news outlet. You're bluffing. Am I? Try me. Hurt either of them one more time, and find out. The standoff lasted an eternity that was probably only seconds. Marco calculated odds, measured risks, and recognized the look in Clara's eyes. She wasn't bluffing. "This isn't over," he threatened, signaling his men to leave. "You can't stay hidden with your little family forever. The board will never accept this farce of a marriage. Then I'll make them accept it, or I'll burn the whole corrupt system down and rebuild from the ashes." After they left, Clara collapsed, adrenaline fading to leave only exhaustion and fear. Lucas sent Sophie to the neighbor's apartment, then sat beside Clara, his own hands shaking with delayed reaction. "I'm sorry," Clara whispered. "I brought this violence into your home, put Sophie at risk. You didn't bring violence. You brought truth. They brought violence because they're afraid of losing control. Lucas, you don't understand. Marco won't stop. He'll investigate you, find every weak point, use Sophie against you. This arrangement is going to destroy your life, or it'll give us both a chance to rebuild. Clara, listen to me. I was drowning before you showed up. Not physically, but financially, emotionally. Every day was survival, and I couldn't see a way forward. You gave me $50,000 and a purpose beyond just surviving. I gave you money for a fake marriage. You gave me a reason to fight for something bigger than myself. And yeah, the money helps. It helps a lot. But more than that, you reminded me that standing up for what's right still matters." Clara looked at this man who'd been hurt defending her, who'd risked his daughter's safety because he believed in protecting someone vulnerable. "I don't deserve you. That's not how it works. This isn't about deserving. This is about two people helping each other survive something terrible." They sat in silence for a while, processing the violence, the fear, the commitment they just made deeper through conflict. "What happens now?" Clara finally asked. "Now we go public on our terms. We tell our story, not their version where you're crazy or I'm using you. The real story, and we make sure everyone knows that if they come after us, you have evidence that'll bring them all down. That makes me a target. You were already a target. Now you're just a target who fights back." Over the next few days, Clara and Lucas crafted their narrative. She posted on social media, not defensive or angry, but honest. She explained the arranged marriage, the financial abuse, the desperation that led her to offer money for help. The response was overwhelming. Other people shared stories of family pressure, forced relationships, golden cages. Clara became a symbol of something larger, breaking free from toxic systems, choosing your own path, finding family in unexpected places. The media couldn't get enough. CEO heiress, Mary struggling, single dad dominated headlines, but the tone shifted from mockery to inspiration. And through it all, Lucas and Clara learned to navigate their strange new reality. Married on paper, strangers becoming allies, two people who'd made a desperate bargain, discovering that sometimes the best things come from the worst moments. Clara kept her position but decided to restructure the corporation, shifting toward community projects. Lucas was invited to manage programs supporting single-parent families. Sophie became a little star in charity events, drawing pictures to give to other children. Clara hung Sophie's drawing of family of three in the CEO office. She often came to the small apartment, learning to cook with Sophie, laughing despite being clumsy. One afternoon, Sophie asked, "Will Miss Clara leave?" Clara hugged the child close. "If you want me to, I'll stay." Lucas watched quietly, his heart stirring, but remained reserved with words. Together they planted flowers on the balcony, blooming brilliantly after the rain. Clara sat at the small dining table, feeling happiness she'd never experienced in her luxurious mansion. Lucas said softly, "This is home." Clara smiled, "And I want to choose this home." All three sat together, bathed in the glow of sunset. The 6-month arrangement changed things neither Lucas nor Clara had anticipated. Clara had expected to endure poverty for half a year, counting down until she could return to comfort. Instead, she found herself looking forward to coming home to the small apartment. She'd learned to cook, badly at first, burning everything just like Sophie. But Lucas patiently taught her, and there was something satisfying about creating food with her own hands, rather than ordering from private chefs. "I made rice without burning it," Clara announced one evening, like she'd won the lottery. Sophie applauded enthusiastically. "You're getting really good. Soon you'll be as good as Daddy." "Let's not get carried away," Lucas teased, "but it's definitely edible," which is progress. Clara had also discovered she enjoyed the work at Moretti Corporation more when it had purpose beyond profit. She'd shifted resources toward genuine community development, started programs for single parents, funded education initiatives. The board resisted at first, but Clara had learned from Lucas that quiet determination often trumped loud authority. She made her case with facts and numbers, showed how community investment created long-term stability and profit, and gradually won people over. Lucas had taken to his new role with surprising skill. He understood single parents because he'd been one, fighting alone for years. He knew what resources mattered, what support actually helped versus what looked good on paper. "You're good at this," Clara told him after observing a program meeting. "You should have been doing this kind of work all along." "Couldn't afford to think about career fulfillment when I was just trying to keep the lights on," Lucas replied. "But yeah, this feels right. Like I'm using experience for something meaningful." Sophie had blossomed too. Having Clara around gave her something she'd missed, a maternal figure who was present and engaged. Clara attended school plays, helped with homework, taught Sophie about business through simplified examples. "When I grow up, I want to help people like you and Daddy," Sophie announced one evening. "You already do, sweetheart," Clara said. "Your kindness helps people every day." But there were complications neither adult wanted to address. The fake marriage was feeling less fake as days passed. They'd slip into couple-like behaviors. Lucas cooking breakfast while Clara got Sophie ready for school, sharing looks over Sophie's head when she said something funny, unconsciously gravitating toward each other in photos. One evening after Sophie was asleep, they sat on the small balcony, tending their flower garden. "We should probably talk about what happens in 3 months, Lucas said. Clara's stomach dropped. "The divorce, you mean?" "Yeah, my $50,000 is doing what it was supposed to. Debts paid, Sophie's education secured, and you're approaching your trust fund activation." "Right. Yes." That was the deal. They sat in uncomfortable silence. "Unless—" Lucas started, then stopped. "Unless what?" "Unless we're both feeling like this arrangement is working better than expected." Clara's heart raced. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying Sophie's attached to you. I'm saying you seem happier here than you were in your old life. I'm saying that maybe we should consider, I don't know, not rushing the divorce." "Lucas, we got married for practical reasons. Legal protection and money. That's not a foundation for a real marriage." "No, it's not. But what about respect, trust, partnership, and genuine care? Because I think we've built those things." Clara wanted to agree, wanted to say that somewhere along the way, pretending to be married had made her want to actually be married, but fear held her back. "We should stick to the plan," she said quietly. 6 months, then divorce. Otherwise, we risk ruining what we have." Lucas nodded, hiding disappointment. "Yeah, you're right. Stick to the plan." But later that night, Clara lay awake in Lucas's bed. She'd long since stopped protesting taking the bedroom. listening to him breathing on the couch in the next room, and wondered if playing it safe was actually the riskiest choice of all, because she'd fallen in love with Sophie's innocent laughter, with Lucas's quiet strength, with the life they'd accidentally built together. And in 3 months, she was supposed to walk away from it all. The thought made her cry into her pillow, mourning a loss that hadn't even happened yet. One early morning, Clara woke in the small apartment to the sound of Sophie's giggles. The table held a tray of burned cookies and hot tea Lucas had made. Clara bit into a cookie, laughing happily, still delicious as the first time. On the wall hung Sophie's framed drawing of family, Daddy, Clara, and Sophie. Clara whispered softly, "If you two still need me, I want to stay," Lucas replied, voice choked. "Welcome home." Sophie hugged both of them, shouting, "Now I have both a daddy and a mommy." On the balcony, purple flowers had bloomed fully, shimmering in the morning sun. Clara set down the family's diamond ring on the table, replacing it with an old handkerchief Lucas used to carry. She said, "Family isn't where you're born, but where you choose to return each day." Lucas nodded, smiling. "And today, we chose each other." Laughter echoed through the small apartment, closing the journey of healing. The turning point came on day 178 of their 6-month arrangement. Clara had attended Sophie's school play, where the little girl performed as a sunflower in a garden. When Sophie took her bow, she pointed at the audience and said into the microphone, "That's my daddy and my mommy." The casual claim made Clara's breath catch. She looked at Lucas, who was watching Sophie with such love and pride, and something clicked into place. After the play, walking home with Sophie between them, each holding one of her hands, Clara made a decision. "Can we talk tonight?" "After Sophie goes to bed." Lucas heard the seriousness in her tone. "Of course." That evening, after Sophie was tucked in with stories and kisses, Lucas and Clara sat on their balcony. The flowers they'd planted together had grown into a small garden, proof that careful tending created beauty. "I don't want a divorce," Clara said before she could lose courage. Lucas froze. "What?" "I know that was the deal. 6 months, then go our separate ways. But I can't imagine separate ways anymore. When I think about leaving here, leaving you and Sophie, it feels like losing everything that matters." "Clara, let me finish. I know this started as a transaction. I paid you for protection, and you agreed because you needed money. But somewhere along the way, it became real for me. This place, this life, you two. You became my real family." Lucas was quiet for a long moment. "You don't have to stay out of obligation or gratitude." "I'm not. I'm staying because I've fallen in love with our life. With Sophie's terrible cookies and your patient teaching and these flowers we grew together. I'm staying because when I imagine my future, you're both in it." "What about your trust fund? Your plans for independence?" "My trust fund activates next month. I'll have financial independence. But I'll also have the choice to spend that independence however I want. And I choose to spend it here, building something real with you." Lucas reached for her hand. "I need you to be sure. Because Sophie's already attached. If you leave, it'll break her heart. Hell, it'll break my heart too." "I'm sure." "Lucas, I've never been more sure of anything. I want to be Sophie's mom. Really be her mom, not just play the role. I want to build a life with you, not a fake marriage, but a real partnership. I want to stay." "Then stay," Lucas said simply. "Stay because you want to, not because you have to. Stay and let's see what we can build together." They sealed the decision with a kiss. Their first real kiss, not for show or pretense, but genuine affection built on 6 months of discovering each other. The next morning, Sophie found them having breakfast together, Clara wearing Lucas's old handkerchief tied around her wrist like a bracelet. "Are you staying forever now?" Sophie asked. "If you'll have me," Clara replied. "Yes!" Sophie launched herself at Clara, nearly knocking over the tea. "I knew it. I knew you were supposed to be our family." And in that small apartment, over burned cookies and cheap tea, 3 people who'd found each other through desperation created something beautiful through choice. Final message: family isn't where you're born, but where you choose to return each day. If you believe healing stories like this deserve to be shared, Please leave a comment and subscribe to Hidden Heart Stories. We tell the stories that shouldn't be forgotten.